Hello, everyone. I'm Governor John Carney. Thank you for joining us today. We have a really important proclamation that I'm going to read in a few minutes. We're just really delighted to have some really important school personnel, school counselors. We're going to proclaim a school counseling week with the counselors who have joined us on the screen today. It's really an important time for our school counselors during COVID-19. The last 2 years. These school employees have come up big in each of the districts that they work in, working hard to provide social emotional support for our children in elementary school, middle school, and high school. I don't know that there's ever been a time when our school counselors are so important. The state last year passed House Bill 100 in the General Assembly, which I signed, which provided additional resources to school districts across our state, created a new metric for funding of school counselors. When I talk to teachers and visit schools across Delaware, one of the things that I always ask the teachers, if you had one thing, one request of me as your governor, what would it be? And they always say more personnel, more counselors in our school, more of folks who are dealing with the social and emotional issues that our students are facing, particularly during this very difficult time. We have a number of members of the committee for the Delaware School Counselors Association. The president is Frank Shockley, who's a counselor at the Cape Henlopen School District. He's going to make some remarks in a minute. We also have the vice president, Christy Hall, who's a counselor in the Caesar Rodney District. We have Jen Davis from our Department of Education, also a practicing counselor in her career as an educator as well. Tammy Taylor, another member of the committee who practices there at South Dover and Capital School District. And then Faith Daniels, who's at the Charter School of Newcastle. Thank you all for joining us. And more importantly, thank you for the work that you do as we celebrate the importance of your work during School Counseling Week. Frank, thanks again for your leadership, and we welcome you here today.
Awesome. Thank you, Governor Carney. Hello, everyone. Like Governor Carney said, I'm Frank Shockley. I am president of the Delaware School Counselor Association, and I'm so very happy to be here. On behalf of school counselors and the Delaware School Counselor Association, I want to thank you, Governor Carney, for having us here today and signing our proclamation for National School Counseling Week. We also, want to give a big thank you to the legislators and organizations out there who can continue to support not only school counseling and school counselors, but the overall mental health needs of our students in our schools in the state of Delaware. So school counselors, in general, are a vital part of our schools today, along with all the other roles within the school. This was happening, prior to the COVID pandemic, but we know now with the COVID pandemic that we're even more important and needed within our school settings to provide the necessary services to our students. We as school counselors, we continue to provide services to our students and families, while also collaborating and consulting with administration, families, and all the other important stakeholders in each student's individual lives. So that's just so very important. And it's important for us to really highlight this week, National School Counseling Week, because it's a week where we advocate for our jobs, our roles within the school, because they're very important. And this week is an ideal time to highlight that. And again, we're just so very glad to be here with Governor Carney to do that. So at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Jen Davis.
Thank you, Frank. I'm Jen Davis. I am the Education Associate for Student Services and Special Populations at the Department of Education. And thank you, Governor Carney, and members of the Delaware School Counselor Association for inviting me to join you today. As a former school counselor, I know firsthand the important work that school counselors do in schools, not only for their students, but their families and their communities as well. On behalf of the Department of Education, I offer our sincere gratitude for every school counselor who is doing this work every single day. Over the last year or two, your roles have changed. They've gone up, they've gone down, you've had wins, and you have remained steadfast in your important role that you serve to your students. Thank you again so much for all that you do.
Thank you very much, Frank and Jen. Thank you for your leadership. Frank, you and your committee, Jen, there at the Department of Education, so critically important. One of the really privileges of being governor is I have the opportunity to support the work that educators do across our state, school counselors among them, and also to visit schools, elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, in each of the counties, each of the districts in Delaware. And I learn a lot during those visits. It's one of the stories that I like to share with folks was a visit that I had to Harlan Elementary School prior to the pandemic. And I was in a second grade classroom going around talking to the children. And I sat down next to a little girl and asked her how her day was going. And she was completely, they had an assignment that they were all working on, but she was completely distracted with something that was happening in her home environment. And she kind of shared that. I said, how are you today? And she said, well, this family member's not home and I'm expecting that he was going to be there, and just completely distracted with something that was happening outside of the school, outside of the classroom. And obviously there was not a lot of learning happening that day for her. And this is one of the just really simple and small examples of the times where our school counselors come to the aid of students and to provide the kind of support that they need to get through whatever situation they're dealing with outside of school and outside of the classroom so that they can focus on learning. In this case, a little second grader learning how to read, and such an important part of her education. So I'm just delighted to be here to celebrate to all of you. Thank you for your work on the committee and to read this proclamation proclaiming School Counseling Week. It reads, whereas school counselors serve in schools across our state and help students reach their full potential. And whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as these traits relate to career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Now, therefore, we, John Carney, Governor, and Bethany Hall Long, Lieutenant Governor, do hereby declare February 7th through the 11th, 2022 as School Counseling Week in the state of Delaware, and urge all citizens to join us in celebrating the hard work and contribution of our state school counselors and to recognize the positive impact that they have on schools, students, and communities. Our Lieutenant Governor has already signed the proclamation, and now so have I. School Counseling Week in the state of Delaware. Thank you for the great work that you do for the children in our state.